The government could join mid-Missouri in a winter freeze in a matter of days. Good evening, everyone. I'm Emily Spain.
And I'm Jim Rick. Thanks for joining us. Congress has until midnight Friday to pass a federal budget and keep everything running. Both sides are playing the blame game. Republicans need Democratic votes in the Senate to keep the government running, but Democrats want a deal protecting DACA. So what is the tie-in between the federal budget and health care here in Missouri? It's stronger than you might think. KOMU8's Nora Ferris is here in the studio to tell us why rural Missourians could be the ones hurt most without a budget agreement.
With America approaching a fiscal cliff, Missouri patients are facing a health care cliffhanger. Without a funding fix, some community health centers serving rural and low-income Americans may not hang on. Federally qualified health centers.
If we don't continue this discussion and find new solutions.
A majority of community health center patients are from rural areas where health care options are already limited. In the studio, Nora Ferris, KOMU8 News.
Back to Capitol Hill, Republican Senator Jeff Flake compared President Trump to Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin today. The Arizona Republican says any president who can't take criticism and instead deflects and blames others is charting a very dangerous path. He claims Trump's words have even inspired overseas dictators. The White House shot back, calling Flake a failing politician looking for attention. Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders says he's attacking the president because he has terrible poll numbers. Flake previously announced he will not seek re-election this fall.
Sanders also shot back against skepticism about Trump's physical results, which said he is in, quote, excellent health.
Dr. Jackson has been a White House physician for the last 12 years, trusted by Presidents Bush, President Obama, and now President Trump. He is the only doctor that has weighed in on this matter, that has actually examined the president.
Back in Jefferson City, KOMU8 News tried speaking with 5 mid-Missouri representatives about the Greitens scandal. While many have reacted online, no one wants to go on camera. Democrats Kip Kendrick, Martha Stevens, and Republican Sarah Walsh have released statements on Twitter. Republican representatives Chuck Basie and Sherry Tolson Reich have not released anything. GOP State Senator Caleb Rowden of Columbia posted a statement on Twitter saying he's urging law enforcement officials to conduct a thorough investigation. Governor Greitens did say on Facebook yesterday he's sorry and he did make a mistake.
The Columbia School District will hold a public meeting tomorrow to talk about a way to pay for a new middle school. A bond issue will be going before voters in April. It would be worth about $30 million. $5 million of that would pay for the construction of the school. CPS spokesperson Michelle Baumstark says the bond vote will determine if construction can begin.
Should that be approved by our community, the next step, of course, would begin construction on that building, and it would be slated to open in 2020.
The district would use the school to ease overcrowding at Gentry Middle School. Right now, Gentry is the only middle school in South Columbia. Jefferson City Public Schools announced the groundbreaking for the city's second high school today. It will take place on February 10th. The district will reveal the school's name at that ceremony.
The Columbia City Council decided last night that Nifong and Forum Boulevards are both due for a multi-million-dollar upgrade. A $12.3 million project will add new traffic lanes on Nifong as well as sidewalks, bike lanes, and street signals. The project is for better traffic flow. Business owners aren't sold on that. A public works engineer says the upgrades are necessary.
It's to improve traffic flow, to improve, like I said, there's a lot of areas that don't have bike lanes and sidewalks along there, so to improve that. You know, mobility for all types of, pedestrians, bikers, and vehicles.
The project will begin in the spring of 2020 and should be completed in the following year.
Walmart is giving people another option for getting rid of opioids, and it's free for customers. Local Walmarts already have it, and anyone with a Class 2 opioid prescription can ask for a packet at any time. It's a powder called Dispose RX. It's mixed with water and the opioids to turn the drugs into just a useless paste. The Columbia-Boone County Department of Health and Human Services says proper disposal methods like this are important.
Disposing pharmaceuticals, you do not want to flush them down the drain or in your toilet. You want to properly dispose of them, and there's various methods to do that, including our household hazardous waste facility that collects pharmaceuticals.
Dispose RX can be bought at other pharmacies. Other ways to safely dispose of opioids include taking unused or expired pills to drug take-back events or a household hazardous waste facility.
A water main break and the cold weather turned a St. Louis suburb into an ice rink overnight. Water shot 20 feet into the air and fluorescent, freezing the streets and covering power lines and trees. Utility crews say older water main pipes don't handle ice or freezing water very well.
Yikes, what a mess. Well, Missouri's been very cold lately, and Kenton says the worst is over. Let's check in with him for some good news. Hey, Kenton.
Hey, Emily, thank you very much. Good news, just what we all need right now. Well, full forecast details coming up after the break.
Kenton, thanks. Hawaii and Japan had false alarms of missile threats this past week. A look into Missouri's preparedness coming up.
Plus, social media executives and lawmakers teaming up to fight terrorism, how they're working together after the break.
North Korea's latest intercontinental ballistic missile tests show the capability of hitting the U.S. So what steps are in place in Missouri to prevent a false missile alert, which happened this past weekend in Hawaii?
That alert, you'll recall, was sent out incorrectly, saying a missile was on its way to the islands and to immediately take shelter. KOMU8's Justin Kolar asked the Highway Patrol if something similar could ever happen in Missouri. Justin.
I spoke with a Hawaiian man this afternoon who told me that he didn't panic when he received the alert Saturday because he and his family had a plan in case something like this ever happened. With news of North Korea's extended range, he hopes everyone will take notice.
I'd always been of the mind that the whole island would be basically gone.
As the most important alerts will come from the federal government. Now, since the false alarm, Hawaii has moved to review its alert cancellation procedures. It's also suspended drills for the time being as they look for a way to add a two-step procedure that won't add too much time to the warning. In the studio, Justin Kolar, KOMU8 News.
Social media executives came to Capitol Hill to explain how they're fighting terrorism efforts online. The Senate wants to know if they're doing enough to find outside influences on social media. They also asked about Russian interference in the 2016 election, fake news, and the number of harmful social media accounts. Outrage in the Middle East today after the Trump administration announced cuts in the aid to Palestinian refugees. Dozens protested outside a UN office in the Gaza Strip. The U.S. is taking away half of a $125 million funding installment to a UN relief agency. Eliminating or sharply reducing U.S. funding could severely diminish the agency's work, putting pressure on Jordan and Lebanon as well as the Palestinian Authority.
Freezing the $65 million as part of the American dues to UNRWA is not only an act of supreme cruelty that really targets innocent victims, it targets Palestinian refugees, the most vulnerable population.
Critics warn the move might push refugees closer to the militant Hamas movement, which controls Gaza.
In Europe, Brexit is one step closer to reality. British lawmakers approved their government's plan to leave the European Union. The bill repeals the 1972 law that made Britain a member of the EU and transfers EU laws into British ones. This was a victory for Prime Minister Theresa May, whose opponents want a softer approach to leaving the EU.
And here's a look at our flight forecast for the day tomorrow. Everyone's looking A-OK. A lot of sunshine out there. The only cloud cover in Denver, but there is 60 degrees. We're in the 40s here in Missouri. But again, we're not expecting any delays for these areas. That's the full forecast for the rest of this week into the weekend. That's coming up right after this break.
The Dow broke a record today when it closed. We'll tell you why investors were all over the stock market. That's coming up later in the show. Welcome back. The Dow made history today, closing above 26,000 for the first time. It spiked after stronger than expected quarterly results from U.S. companies. Results from Bank of America, Boeing, and Apple pushed the stock market. The S&P and NASDAQ both also finished with record closing highs. Part of what pushed the Dow, Apple's announcement of plans to invest more into the U.S. economy. The company wants to bring back billions of dollars of overseas cash and create 20,000 new jobs in America. The pledge comes after President Trump's overhaul of the U.S. tax code, since the reforms offer a one-time break on overseas money. 21 states are suing to block the FCC's repeal of net neutrality rules. A group of attorneys generals have filed suit to stop the repeal, and so have Mozilla, Firefox, and New America's Open Technology Institute. Other public interest groups are expected to file suit as well. Google is working to fix issues with its devices and internet connectivity. Google Home smart speakers and Chromecast may be affecting home Wi-Fi. This month, Google got reports of several major brands of routers going offline. Some of the brands include Asus, Linksys, and Netgear.
2 top 25 teams have fallen tonight in the SEC alone. Later in sports, see how the upsets were a slam dunk.
I feel good.
Well, Ruth Cook is just one of the women who found the perfect dress for a special night. The ARC held the I Said Yes to the Dress event for Special Olympics athletes. They got to choose dresses of all colors, sparkles, and sizes for their prom night next month. The founder of the event says the smile on the women's faces mean the most to her.
Coming up on KOMU 8 News today, Missouri's plan for the Every Student Succeeds Act, a successor to the No Child Left Behind, passed.
We'll tell you how the state is balancing federal guidelines and doing its own thing. That's tomorrow morning. Kenton.
And it's a cold one tomorrow morning, but not as cold as it has been for earlier this week. We're at 13 degrees tomorrow, then 40 degrees by tomorrow afternoon. Breezy, though, with gusts around 25 miles per hour, 48 on Friday, 50 on Saturday, with cloud cover really holding on throughout the weekend, but the rain won't arrive until about Sunday afternoon at this point.
And we could use rain.
We could use the rain at this point, maybe about half an inch of rainfall, but that would still help us out because we've been very dry.
Yeah. That is our time for now. Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great night.